moment. There we go. Okay, hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today to talk about thyroid health and why healthy thyroid function is key when it comes to balanced digestion, increased hair growth, healthy hormones, and even healthy weight and metabolism. And our agenda for the masterclass is first, we will touch on a few thyroid statistics, as well as some basic understanding of the thyroid gland. We will also talk about thyroid hormone conversion, where this occurs in the body, and why this is important to understand for all of your health goals and all the goals I mentioned earlier when it comes to thyroid health. You're going to learn the meaning of functional lab ranges versus the ranges that are used in conventional medicine. And that is completely and vastly different. So we'll talk about the differences. And we're also going to touch on the thyroid and autoimmunity topic. So if you or a loved one have been diagnosed with Hashimoto's disease or Graves' disease, we are going to talk about that briefly as well. And you're going to also learn why a full thyroid panel is actually a window into entire systems of the body if it is read correctly. And this is very important. The full thyroid panel needs to be read correctly in order for us to see all these windows into the body. And this means that functional lab ranges must be used. And finally, you're going to have the opportunity to empower yourself to test and not guess by running your own complete thyroid panel to reach your health goals and prevent autoimmunity. Now, it is important to note that nothing in this class is meant to diagnose disease. This class is for educational purposes only and is meant to educate you on how to prevent thyroid disorders as well as identify signs and symptoms of thyroid problems. This masterclass does not take the place of working with a licensed physician or doctor. Have to put that out there. That's my disclaimer. So first, let's get into a little bit about me and how I got here, my thyroid journey. I was born and raised in California. I'm a tea and chocolate lover, if you don't already know that from my Instagram. And I've lived abroad in both China and France. So I've had the pleasure of encountering both Western and Eastern medicine. My own health symptoms actually began after returning from working abroad in China. And this was 1 year after receiving numerous vaccines for travel, drinking poor water, eating a vegetarian diet, and living a high-stress lifestyle. By the age of 27 years old, I was diagnosed with alopecia, which is classified as genetic hair loss. And that was given to me by conventional medicine. And I was also diagnosed with IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, from alternative or holistic medicine. Now, like many women, my intuition told me that my thyroid was imbalanced, but my doctors kept putting me off, saying that my thyroid labs were normal. I went on to develop food sensitivities, anemia, my hair was falling out in handfuls, and my mental health was a mess. And it took me more than 7 years to finally understand that everything was connected and that environmental toxins, poor drinking water, poor diets, all of these things were creating major deficiencies and imbalances in my body, which ultimately led to thyroid and gut problems. So a lot of things going on in my 20s. And here's a before and after from my thyroid healing journey. On the left is a photo of me from 2012. I was actually living in France at this time. And you could see that I had very, very thin hair, very pale skin. I was anemic at this time. I had scalp psoriasis, a lot of dry skin issues, and my hair loss was so bad that I was waking up with handfuls of hair on my pillow. At this time, you can see in my photo, I was consuming inflammatory foods and processed foods like gluten, sugar, dairy, soy, and alcohol. But because I was a vegetarian, I was avoiding meat and I was avoiding fish. I had very poor self-esteem around my thinning hair. And honestly, I was very confused about what to eat during this time. I was following fad diets. For those of you listening, you might have been there, or you may be there yourself, not knowing what to eat. I was actually drinking celery juice. I was doing random cleanses, and I was not eating properly for my diet because I didn't understand nutrition. I was just following whatever mainstream diet was available. And little did I know that at the time, my body was full of radiation from the Fukushima fallout. I actually was living in China at the time that that occurred. And 1 year later, I returned to the West Coast in California. And by that time, Fukushima had hit the West Coast. So I actually got a double whammy of radiation contamination. I also tested very high in heavy metals, which I believe came from vaccines. I had mold and mycotoxins in my testing, bacterial overgrowth, parasites, and glyphosate, which is also known as Roundup, Roundup weed killer. You might be familiar with that. But despite all of these symptoms that were occurring and all these health issues, my doctors continue to say that my labs were normal and to just stop stressing. I even heard this from a functional nurse practitioner after she read my thyroid panel and my hormone test. But looking back now, I realized that she actually did not know how to read those labs at all. She did not read them correctly. So anyways, that is the past. Let's fast forward 7 years to the picture on the right. I became a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner, which means that I learned how to read my own blood work and labs. And I finally pinpointed my imbalances that were occurring in my body, and I healed myself. So, and it shouldn't be any surprise to any of us that my intuition was right, that when I ran my own complete thyroid panel, and I could truly understand the meaning of those markers, they were actually the key to understanding why I received my alopecia diagnosis as well as my IBS diagnosis. And those markers helped me to put alopecia and IBS into remission. So very, very important to understand. We can take the reins of our health and heal ourselves. Now, here's some issues that come up in conventional medicine. One of the biggest problems in conventional healthcare is that doctors don't typically run a complete thyroid panel, or if they do, they don't even know how to read the markers. They usually run TSH only, which is the thyroid stimulating hormone, and then they call it a day. In fact, many conventional doctors will base your entire thyroid health on this one marker alone, which is TSH. And then they will tell you that your thyroid is normal because that TSH looked normal, right? I cannot count how many times this happened to me with numerous health practitioners, and it was so frustrating. Now, running TSH only and avoiding or not looking at all the other thyroid markers, this isn't preventative, and it it's not looking at the entire thyroid picture. It's not all of the puzzle pieces. So it's incomplete information. And this narrow-minded way of thinking in conventional medicine truly needs to change. Anybody else think that? Anyways, so men and women are not crazy. I want to really highlight this. We are not crazy for thinking symptoms like hair loss, bloating, dry skin, weight gain, infertility, poor libido. None of these are normal. These symptoms are not normal. So that's why we're here today, and you deserve better than that. Now, I do want to jump into some thyroid statistics because I said we were going to talk about this. This really emphasizes how large of an issue thyroid problems are for both men and women. So the first thyroid statistic, women are 5 to 8 times more likely than men to have thyroid problems. That's quite high. And 1 in 3 women have hypothyroidism, 1/3 of the population. And one last thyroid statistic for you, 80% of autoimmune sufferers are female. So what does autoimmunity mean? This could be Hashimoto's, Graves' disease, maybe even other conditions like celiac disease as well. So these thyroid statistics really show and emphasize the problem that is occurring. It's really an epidemic of thyroid issues. Now, thyroid conditions, they do seem to affect women more often than men. However, it could be argued that men don't typically see their doctor as often as females do to run proper testing. So I think that should be emphasized as well. Women tend to go to their doctors more often. But the bottom line is there is just a huge growing epidemic of thyroid problems, and we truly need to be more preventative and take some action to stop this trend. And I'm going to show you how to do this today. Here are some signs and symptoms of thyroid problems. And it's important to understand that poor thyroid function affects virtually every system in your body. And there are symptoms of both thyroid conditions, either hyperthyroidism and hypothyroidism, that overlap. So you can actually have symptoms of both, and you can actually fluctuate between hyperthyroid and hypothyroid due to stress. So keep that in mind. That might be something you write down for tonight. But some of the symptoms that tend to overlap for both conditions are things such as hair loss or hair thinning, constipation or slow bowel movements, dry skin, fatigue and poor energy, poor detoxification, hormone issues, weight gain, and gut issues. Now, with thyroid imbalances, it's very common to have a handful of these symptoms. And I'm here to tell you that these things are not normal, and you don't have to live with these uncomfortable symptoms. Now let's jump into a little Thyroid 101. You may know some of this information already, but for those of you who don't, the thyroid gland is a butterfly-shaped gland that sits in the front of the neck, and it helps to regulate many bodily functions by releasing a steady amount of thyroid hormones into the bloodstream. The production of thyroid hormone is necessary for all the cells in your body to work normally. All the cells, all the systems in your body. Very, very important. So this means if your thyroid hormones are not optimal or not in healthy ranges, many functions and systems in your body will suffer. And I'll give you an example. So if your thyroid hormones are not in a healthy, narrow functional range, digestion is going to slow down, hair growth will come to a screeching halt, and your libido will be in the garbage. Those are just a few examples. And not to mention, for many women and some men, possible weight gain or loss can occur depending on hypo or hyperthyroid, and trouble with things such as dry, flaky skin, dry scalp, and infertility can also occur. Now, this you may want to write down, so grab your notebook and your pencil. This is very important, and this is one of the things, if you learned anything tonight, that I hope you take away from this class. The thyroid gland, that butterfly-shaped gland in the front of your neck, it is a very, very sensitive gland, and it can be influenced by so many variables, including dietary variables, so diet, lifestyle variables, and environment. So where you live, the water you're drinking, the home you live in, the air you breathe, all of that can influence the thyroid. Even the Wi-Fi that is always around us, that is a burden on our immune system that can also it can create issues with the thyroid gland in terms of how the immune system is functioning, because everything's connected in the body. And in terms of diet, I'll give you an example of foods that can potentially impact the thyroid negatively, one of which is gluten and the other is dairy. And gluten actually has a protein molecule that looks very similar to the thyroid gland. And that in itself can be a huge stressor for the immune system and impact your thyroid. So gluten and dairy, if you're having issues with your thyroid, those two foods are the first two that have to go. Now let's break down the difference between conventional lab ranges, which are the ones that your doctor uses, versus functional lab ranges, which are much healthier, narrow lab ranges. Very important. These are the lab ranges that I was trained to use as a functional nutritionist. Those are on the right-hand side. Your doctor. Functional is what functional practitioners, functional nutritionists use. Now, the conventional or standard lab reference ranges are very wide, and they're very outdated ranges. They haven't changed in like 50 years. And they reflect what is typical or normal in the general population. Now, the problem with this is that these really wide, outdated ranges include people who are sick, ill, or have autoimmune conditions. So therefore, they do not reflect a healthy population. And so because of this, when your doctor is using a conventional range, your thyroid can look normal and still not be healthy or optimal. I want to make that clear. And this is when individuals like myself, maybe even you, and maybe that's why you're here tonight, that's when we slip through the cracks of conventional medicine, and we can be having all those thyroid symptoms like the dry skin, low body temperature, hair loss, gut problems. But our numbers will fall within this very far wide range, and that's when we're told everything is normal. So this is very frustrating, and that's why I personally decided to learn how to order, read, and interpret my own thyroid panel, because I knew my low thyroid symptoms were far from normal. I wanted answers and I wanted solutions. And so just to repeat, and so everybody's on the same page, the conventional ranges on the left, the ones that your doctor uses, they're also known as standard lab ranges. They're very far reaching. They include unhealthy individuals. And so therefore they are not the most optimal ranges to follow. On the other hand, the functional reference ranges, reflect what is optimal in the healthiest population. These are people that are like athletes. They have great metabolisms. They have a high sex drive. They have gorgeous hair, beautiful skin, supple skin. Those are the ranges that we want to interpret our thyroid panel through, because we want to be healthy too, right? And so we might have to make some changes, either diet, lifestyle, environment, to get to those healthy narrow ranges. Now, also on the functional side, so the functional thyroid markers, those narrow ranges, that includes 6 thyroid markers. In conventional medicine, they are typically running only TSH and T4, so that's only 2 thyroid markers. That's not complete. That's not enough information. That doesn't tell us how your thyroid is functioning. And specifically, it doesn't tell us about the most metabolically active thyroid marker, which we're going to talk about. I will tell you what that is in just a few more slides. And lastly, for the functional, narrow, healthy ranges, they actually provide us a window into many systems of the body, certain organs of the body, and where those healing opportunities need to be made. So very, very important. Conventional is vastly different than functional when it comes to lab ranges. So here's an example of a full thyroid panel. On the left, you're going to notice that there's many more markers than just TSH or T4. And it's important to also understand that blood work is a snapshot in time. So this full thyroid panel here on the left actually tells us where this person at, how their thyroid is functioning in the current present moment. So because of that, that provides us with important actionable data for us to make changes and get results. And in fact, each marker on a thyroid panel will provide information about your brain and stress, your minerals, your liver and gut function, possible autoimmunity, immune system stressors, as well as potential toxins in your environment. So just from this simple, inexpensive panel that you can run yourself, you are able to make very important diet, lifestyle, supplement changes that will lead to all of those greater health goals that we want. And I don't know about you, but I want to have easy breezy digestion. I want to have beautiful hair growth. I want sexy balanced hormones. And that's why I choose to not only order, read, and interpret my thyroid, but also understand the importance of all these thyroid markers and how to optimize them. So here's a fun fact for you. This you might want to write down, because when I first learned this, oh my gosh, I just couldn't believe it. And I thought, my doctor never told me this. Does my doctor even know this? So fun fact, it isn't until your thyroid function drops to 70 to 75% in function that you can detect a problem in your blood work. So by the time that you see your thyroid markers dropping, or they're out of range, or maybe your thyroid antibodies are elevated, or your TSH is high or low, that means that your thyroid function has already dropped to 70 to 75% in terms of function. That's not where we want to go. That's not the trend we want. We want to nip that in the bud, because we don't want our thyroid function to drop, because like I said earlier, it impacts all the systems in your body. So that means your liver function will drop in terms of its function. Your digestion will drop in terms of its function. Your cardiovascular system, your immune system, your nervous system, because your thyroid is responsible for creating the mitochondria that powers all of those systems. Very important. let's dive just a little bit deeper into this thyroid panel. And you can write down all of these markers if you want to. But on the left, we can see right off the bat that this person's TSH, which is that first marker at the top, is actually very healthy at 1.95. But, and so I guess as an example, if your doctor only ran TSH for this person, or this person's doctor only ran TSH, and they saw 1.95, they would say, oh, this person looks great, their thyroid's normal, you have no thyroid issues. But then you're sitting there, this person's sitting there thinking, but wait a second, my hair loss is getting worse, I'm not sleeping well, I'm depressed, I have maybe one bowel movement every couple of days, I can't get pregnant, I'm gaining weight, something doesn't make sense, right? So as we move on and we look at the other thyroid markers from this person, we can actually see this person has mineral deficiencies. They have poor conversion of active thyroid hormone, which is T4 to T3. That takes place in the gut and the liver. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. We're going to go over the importance of active thyroid hormone. But all of these imbalances that this person has going on are very common. I see this all the time in my practice, especially mineral deficiencies, and especially that poor conversion of T4 to T3, which happens in the gut and the liver. Gut and liver, very important. Write that down, gut and liver. In fact, here's another interesting fact you might want to write down. Active thyroid hormone, which is known as free T3, is actually the most metabolically active thyroid hormone in your body. And that is your golden ticket. If you have functional free T3, that is your golden ticket to balanced gut health, increased hair growth, increased energy, and healthy balanced hormones. It's the free T3. It is not TSH. And I bet your doctor did not tell you that, because my doctor certainly didn't tell me this. My doctor wouldn't even run free T3, let alone all the other thyroid markers that you can see in this full thyroid panel. One important note, if you look at the reverse T3 is a marker of stress. And this person's reverse T3 is elevated. So that is another healing opportunity for this person. They can reduce stress in their life. They can explore dietary changes. They can increase their minerals. They can look at the foods that they're eating and their supplements. And they can look at liver and gut health to optimize their thyroid hormones and get into that healthy range where we all will start to feel better. And the best part, though, is that when you make the dietary changes, lifestyle, environment, reduce stress, you actually can see results in 4 to 6 weeks in your blood work. So when you retest after making those changes, you'll see these numbers shift. And then you're going to also not just see the numbers on a piece of paper, you're actually going to experience those shifts in your body so that you do feel good and you have that sustainable energy. You can lose weight easily when you're exercising and not just go to the gym and work out, all the time, 5 to 6 days a week, which I hear from so many females. I work out all the time. I get so much exercise, but I'm not losing weight. And I'll always ask them, have you ran a complete thyroid panel? How is your metabolism functioning? How is your thyroid functioning? And thyroid and metabolism are the same thing, just to be clear, same thing. Okay, so let's move on to that topic of free T3, which I just mentioned. And I'm sure you're wondering, where is that magical active thyroid hormone that most that is most metabolically active, that free T3, where is it created? Where is it converted? And how do we get those functional ranges of free T3 or get this into that healthy narrow range, which is incredibly important for your energy, your mood, your metabolism, hormones, etc. Well, the majority of that active thyroid hormone, also known as free T3, is converted in the liver at 75%, and the other 25% is converted in the gut. So this actually shows us the importance of liver and gut health when it comes to healthy thyroid function. And it tells us where to go look for the imbalances if we are seeing that our free T3 is on the low side or normal in conventional medicine. Because if we are experiencing those low thyroid symptoms, this active thyroid hormone, we have to look at that first and ask ourselves, is it low? And so we go look at the liver and gut to see if those areas need support to amplify and increase that free T3, the most metabolically active thyroid hormone. And I'll give you an example in terms of why your free T3 could be low. If your liver is struggling to detox an abundance of toxins and chemicals from your body care products, pesticides from your food, medications, maybe even over-the-counter meds, you can imagine that your thyroid hormone production, that free T3, it's going to suffer because your liver cannot handle all of these different things and also make that free T3 at the same time. In addition, if your gut is in disarray due to poor eating, stress, drinking tap water, medications, food sensitivities, gut infections, all of these variables can impact the amount of that active thyroid hormone that's converted in the gut. And the bottom line is, if your liver and gut are struggling, you may not be converting your thyroid hormone, the T4 to T3, which would support your weight, your metabolism, your hair, libido hormones, and even progesterone hormone, which is really important to understand as well. If one of your goals is healthy fertility or conception, when the thyroid is impaired because the liver or gut are not making that free T3, we are not going to make adequate progesterone in the body, and things like estrogen dominance can occur where estrogen ends up being higher in comparison to progesterone, and that will throw off your hormones, your cycles, and it will be very challenging to get pregnant. Let's dive into the thyroid and autoimmunity conversation, that topic, and how a complete thyroid panel can prevent autoimmunity, which is a really big deal for today's modern world, because it seems like all the time I'm hearing a female or a male diagnosed with Hashimoto's or Graves' disease, and that's just, it's not normal. So did you know it takes 5 to 7 years before thyroid antibodies elevate in blood work or develop into an autoimmune condition, such as the Graves' or Hashimoto's diagnosis? In fact, if you're only testing TSH, so if your doctor's only running TSH, that can look normal even when your thyroid antibodies are increasing over a 5 to 7 year period, which will eventually result in a Graves' or Hashimoto's diagnosis. Now, this information is really empowering, very empowering, because this means that you have 5 to 7 years to dial in your diet, your lifestyle, your environment, to ensure that you do not receive an autoimmune thyroid diagnosis, such as Hashimoto's or Graves' disease. And now, basically, you're at a level of knowledge about thyroid health that will probably even surpass your doctor. And next time you visit your doctor, you could probably teach them a thing or two. This information is just so valuable and important, especially if you know that thyroid conditions run in your family. Maybe your mom had a thyroid condition or your grandmother, because autoimmune conditions are currently on the rise and they're being turned on by all these modern environmental toxins, poor eating and diet, pesticides on food, fad diets like the ketogenic diet, low carb, intermittent fasting. These all lead to states of depletion and malnutrition in the body that puts greater stress on the body as well. So we really have to look at this holistically and not just test TSH. This also means that prevention is key when it comes to thyroid health, and full thyroid panels that include thyroid antibodies should be ran annually, every single year. You could also run them quarterly if you already have Hashimoto's or Graves' disease, to ensure that you're stopping the progression of autoimmunity and or reversing it and putting it into remission. But as we talked about earlier, complete thyroid panels are not routinely ran in conventional medicine. And this is a huge healing opportunity for anyone who wants to take the reins of their thyroid health, to age gracefully and just to simply prevent autoimmune disease. Now we're going to look a little bit closer at the autoimmune thyroid markers. These are two. There's TPO, which is the top thyroid antibody marker, and then TGAB, which is the bottom one. There's another thyroid antibody marker as well, TSI. But it is important to run these two thyroid antibodies specifically to really monitor your thyroid. And when these are elevated, all this means is that there's an immune system stressor occurring in your body, that your immune system is not happy. It's an SOS, it's a warning sign or emergency sign that something's off in your body. It could be as simple as gluten in the diet. And just by eliminating that gluten, that immune stressor in your gut, where 80% of your immune system resides, that in itself could reduce these thyroid antibodies and stop the progression of autoimmunity. Both of these thyroid markers here, they are associated with autoimmunity, and this person received a Hashimoto's diagnosis from their doctor. But this example shows you just how easy it is to detect possible autoimmunity just by running a simple thyroid panel. Now, what I really want you to know about this particular person is this diagnosis, the Hashimoto's diagnosis, did not happen overnight. This person was actually living in mold in her home for about 5 to 6 years before she received a Hashimoto's diagnosis. And so I want to repeat, this is something you may want to write down if you haven't already. It takes 5 to 7 years for thyroid antibodies to elevate in the blood. That's healing opportunity time. That's like if you had been monitoring your thyroid panel before those 5 to 7 years, you may have not received a Hashimoto's diagnosis, or you could have caught it before it crept into the 50s, 60s. I've seen thousands, I've seen 1,200, 5,000. I've seen very, very high antibodies, but this typically doesn't happen overnight. And this means that you can prevent autoimmunity by running your own annual full thyroid panel and monitoring your thyroid antibodies on your own, even without your doctor. But one thing that I do wonder is why doctors don't routinely run these markers, because it's so important. So this particular person, they're going to have to look back at their health history for the last 5 to 7 years and start asking major questions. How is my diet? How is my lifestyle? What does my environment look like? And as soon as we hit that topic, that's when she said, oh, I'm living in mold. So boom, that was her huge healing opportunity to get out of that environment. I also want to emphasize stress and trauma. Both stress and traumatic situations can also impact the thyroid gland, because again, the thyroid is very, very sensitive. It's a sensitive gland. But if we investigate all of these diet, lifestyle, and environmental triggers and stressors, it is possible to halt and stop the progression of autoimmunity and put it into remission. I have seen it time and time again. So there is hope, even if you've been diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder, Hashimoto's or Graves' disease. It does not mean it's forever. Okay, so just a little bit of summary here. These are all the windows into the body that a full thyroid panel provides us. It's a window into systems of the body, organs of the body, and how things are functioning. Specifically, that gut and liver health, very important. Mineral deficiencies, very important to investigate. Minerals make the magic happen. They are the spark plugs to life. And if you are not getting enough minerals in your diet, or you have gut issues and you're not absorbing your minerals, or you're just eating a nutrient depleted diet, your thyroid function is going to be subpar, not going to be functioning well. The other key component to thyroid panels, which is always overlooked when it comes to female health or women's health, is that a thyroid panel can show us if a woman's body is ready for conception. And if it's not, then, you know, the thyroid panel will show us like, oh, well, it's looking like minerals are off, or that free T3 is low. So we have to go look at gut and liver health. All of these things really matter when it comes to hormones, specifically progesterone, which is vital to fertility for females. If you can't figure out why you can't lose weight, another reason why you should investigate your thyroid panel, look at that free T3, and obviously preventing autoimmunity. So all of this really, really important and vital to our health. So in conclusion, healthy thyroid hormones are necessary for all the cells in your body to work and function normally and optimally. And full thyroid panels tell you where you're currently at in the present moment. So very powerful, actionable data. A full thyroid panel, if read correctly, can prevent autoimmunity, and it allows for actionable steps so that you can get results with your health. And it's important to test with a complete thyroid panel annually for your healing opportunities, your personal healing opportunities, because yours are going to look different than mine. And if your thyroid hormones are not in that narrow, healthy, functional range, many functions in your body are going to suffer. And lastly, like I've repeated many times, the thyroid gland is very, very sensitive, and it can be influenced by so many variables, including stress and including your environment that you live in. That means the house that you live in, the water that you're drinking. And those variables, all these variables are going to be different for everyone, and will result in different symptoms in each person. And you can see in my before and after photo here that when my thyroid is under functioning, my hair thins and it falls out a lot. This is my own personal top low thyroid symptom. And it's exactly why I monitor my thyroid every 3 to 4 months. I look at my full thyroid panel. I look at that active thyroid hormone, the free T3, because that is the most metabolically active thyroid hormone. That's what's going to get me my increased hair growth. That's going to balance my hormones. and amplify my digestion, my hormones. So this is exactly why I am so passionate about thyroid health and understanding the thyroid gland, understanding what a full thyroid panel could mean for you, because it meant the world for me. And I just, I don't ever want to go backwards in time. I don't want to experience those alopecia severe like hair loss symptoms. I want to keep my hair on my head where it belongs. So if you want to learn more about thyroid health, specifically how to order, read, and interpret your own complete thyroid panel, you can check out my course, Thyroid Wellness Formula. It is a step-by-step course that teaches you how to identify your own personal healing opportunities and get results. So the easy breezy digestion, increased energy, hair growth, like you saw in my before and after photo, and to get healthy hormones, healthy hormones. So from this course, you're going to learn how to identify and stop autoimmunity in its tracks with an action plan that anyone can do, including you. You'll also learn safe and natural alternatives to synthetic thyroid medications, which could actually be making your thyroid worse. And I talk about that today in my Instagram stories about how a client was on levothyroxine and it actually wasn't doing anything for her. It wasn't even increasing her T4, which is really too bad. And I did say I have a special gift for you. I actually have a couple gifts for you for being a part of today's Thyroid Masterclass. If you're ready to take your thyroid knowledge a step further and you want to learn how to order, read, and interpret your own complete thyroid panel, I do have this lovely coupon code for you. It's Thyroid Masterclass. That's going to save you $300 off of my course, Thyroid Wellness Formula. And this coupon code is good for the next 48 hours. You'll save $300. And I would love for you to, to be a part of this group. And we have a Facebook support group. You always have my attention in this course. You're never by yourself. My students email me all the time and ask questions in the Facebook group. So that's how we support each other in this course. But I would love if you would be interested in joining us, and you can further support yourself on your own personal thyroid healing journey. I will drop the link to this course if you're interested in the chat in just a minute. And we are at our Q&A time as well. So if you brought your thyroid questions, I'm going to stop the share and feel free to drop your thyroid questions in the chat box and we can get going on those questions. And here is the link to the course. Let's see. And I'll put the coupon code one more time. Oops. And if you want to unmute yourself, you can do that as well. If you want to ask your questions. How do you get your doctor to run a full thyroid panel? Is there a secret? Is there a secret word to use? Oh my gosh, I love this question. Stephanie, I'm sorry, but there is no secret. You can keep searching for a doctor that is open to running a full thyroid panel for you. I've probably seen, I don't know, how many practitioners have I worked with? 5 to 6 practitioners, and the only one that was open to it was the functional practitioner. And of course, that's all out of pocket pay. That's private. That's how I work as well. So she was charging me $400 for my thyroid panel. And then I found out later that she didn't know how to read it properly. And she told me that my thyroid problems were all just related to stress, and I needed to just stop stressing, and I needed to go meditate. And that's how I was going to fix my thyroid. Well, that wasn't completely true. So I wish there was a code word. I wish there was a way to do that, but there are some insurances that you order your panel on your own and you save your receipt and you can turn that into your insurance and get reimbursed for that. That's what I do tend to coach my clients on doing. So I will order their LabCorp blood work, or they'll learn how to order the thyroid panel in my course, and then they'll turn that receipt into their insurance. I mean, it just depends on the insurance. Everyone's plan is different. So you have to check with the plan, and then I would choose whoever will reimburse you for your blood work. I would choose that insurance plan. And I know a lot of HSA accounts, health spending accounts, and there's even a Christian health spending account. A lot of them will reimburse you when you order it on your own. Or if you get it through someone like me, I can order it for you and then you can send that into your insurance. Let's see. I have been on thyroid meds for 18 years. I see a functional medicine doctor and have managed most of my symptoms through diet and lifestyle. That's amazing. I would love to get off my medication. 18 years is too long. I completely agree. And no one can seem to figure out why I have not been able to drop weight. Yeah, very, very important. So many tests. What do you recommend when someone has tried everything? Well, you haven't tried everything because you're still on that thyroid medication. And this is what I hear from all of my clients. I actually just worked with a thyroid wellness formula student this morning. She had been on her thyroid medication, levothyroxine, for 7 years. And she said the same thing as you. I can't lose weight. I've never been able to lose weight. I don't really feel better on this medication. And I'm like, well, why are you taking it? So in my course, I actually teach you alternatives to the thyroid medication that are food-based. So it's natural. It's not a synthetic drug like levothyroxine. She chose one of those from the course. She weaned herself off of the levothyroxine over a weekend. She's on that natural thyroid support. She retested her thyroid. Her energy is already better. All of her thyroid markers improved. Her thyroid antibodies went from 22, which is elevated, to 1, all the way down to 1, just by getting off levothyroxine. She did make a few dietary changes, lifestyle. It sounds like you've already made those changes. She's already getting results in 4 to 6 weeks. So it can actually be easy, but we haven't been taught these methods through mainstream conventional medicine. They're not even available to us. Oftentimes, the nutritionist isn't even available through your healthcare plan. And I had to go above and beyond my nutrition certifications to learn all of this. I actually became a guinea pig for all of this as well. I worked with a functional medicine practitioner. To be honest, she was a bit too old-fashioned. She herself was on levothyroxine, not getting better, and just prescribing it all the time, calling herself a functional practitioner, a functional nurse practitioner, and still prescribing levothyroxine. And the women are not getting better. They're not dropping the pounds and they're not feeling energized. So myself as a nutritionist, it's great. I don't prescribe medications. I can teach you how to use natural supplements, herbs, foods, teas, things that do work to get results. Because clearly, if you're on a med for 18 years and you're not seeing any shifts or changes, things are just not working. That's a great question. Let's see. Did I miss anything? My FSA needed a letter from my MD to reimburse me for my panel, and my MD said I didn't need a full panel. That's really sad. I feel like I've gained more weight once I started levothyroxine. It is definitely possible, and I'm going to tell you why you could have gained weight on the levothyroxine. Unless you're getting your levo compounded in a compound pharmacy, if it's just a basic levothyroxine or generic like Synthroid, oftentimes those medications contain corn, soy, confectioner sugar, dairy, and those foods are very inflammatory to the guts because they're highly processed. They can contain pesticides as well. And because 80% of your immune system is in your gut, if you're consuming those things via your levothyroxine, you may think you're doing great with your diet, but you're actually still getting exposed to those inflammatory foods, and that's creating systemic inflammation in your body. Inflammation doesn't stay in the gut. Our gut is connected to the central nervous system, and so inflammation will go systemic throughout the body, creating that weight gain. So unfortunately, that's another problem with these synthetic medications. Even Armour is actually one of the dirtiest medications. It definitely contains corn. There's synthetic, synthetic dyes. So synthetic coloring in there, and that can cause inflammation in the gut as well. How did you make your hair grow back? Did just the lifestyle changes and supplements help, or did you do something else for the hair? What if someone has thinning eyebrows? What do they need to do? Thinning eyebrows is another symptom of low thyroid. And for me specifically, what helped me was first running that full thyroid panel, looking at it through the functional ranges, and realizing that my active thyroid hormone, that free T3, which is the most metabolically active thyroid hormone, that is responsible for hair growth. And I could see that my levels were very low. I knew right there that I pinpointed a dysfunction or an imbalance in my body with my thyroid hormone. So that showed me, because we learned this earlier, that free T3 is made in the liver and the gut. So I knew I had to go look at my liver function, see what was impacting my liver, support my liver with key foods, key supplements, key herbs. And I also needed to look at my gut to see what was going on. Maybe I had gut infections, etc. So I did the GI map digestive panel that showed me I had H. pylori bacteria, which creates malabsorption in the guts. So I knew I wasn't digesting my foods properly. I wasn't absorbing my vitamins and minerals. I had other bacterial overgrowth occurring as well. And so once I looked at my gut health, worked on my liver health, I started to see my hair grow, it get healthier. I actually have additional lab markers that I suggest running for hair growth. I put those in my course as well, and lifestyle practices that can help you to increase your hair growth while you're improving your thyroid markers and getting that free T3 up to that functional healthy range. That's a really great question, but that's exactly what I did. And I do go over that in detail. That's one of the things I emphasize in my course as well, is how to grow your hair, how to get your hair back healthy, and so that you're not losing it all the time. It's not falling out all the time. And it goes the same for your thinning eyebrows. So hair and nails are the last thing that the body prioritizes. If you're having liver issues or gut issues, your body is going to be hyper focused in those areas. So that's so important for survival and detoxification. So your body will put the hair growth and your nails on the back burner. And one of the key signs that your thyroid and metabolism is improving is that you'll see your nails growing in quickly and your hair starts to get shiny and healthier and stay on your head. Let's see. How long did it take to get your hair to grow back? It really depends. It depends on the person, to be honest, but if you start right away and you're serious, you make some serious dietary lifestyle changes, you implement the lifestyle component, all of the things I talk about in my course, you run your other lab work to find those healing opportunities, I would say in as little as 3 months, because it usually takes about 3 months for the hair growth cycle. And I mean, with the things that I've done, within 90 days, you start to see baby hairs grow right along the hairline here. And that's when you know that the work that you're doing is working and you're progressing with your thyroid health and your other blood work markers too. And Mario said, thank you. I hope you all have a great evening. Thank you, Mario. I hope you do as well. Okay, other questions? Did I skip anyone? I'm trying lifestyle and dietary changes, and I feel that they take most of my time. Well, being healthy is a way of life. It is a lifestyle, especially in today's day and age. And really all that comes down to is self-care. So you could shift your thinking and your perspective, and that maybe it's not a chore or it's not tedious, but it's something that you know is that you're worth, essentially. You're worth all of that. And it's a self-investment, right? So sometimes just changing or shifting our thinking around it can be helpful, because we're worthy of being healthy. We're worthy of the great foods, the organic foods, the clean water, all the lifestyle hacks, like red light therapy or getting minerals every day in our diet. We're worth all of that. Okay, so any other last questions? It's already 6:05, so I don't want to take too much. Oh, we still have the minerals too. I haven't given these away. So if you would like me to send you element minerals, since you stayed on this long, you can drop, well, let's see. You can either email me, and I can put my email in the chat. Just email me your address and I'll send you them in the mail. So you can try them out. Kristen@eatyourgreensout.com. That's my email. Just shoot me a little email tonight or tomorrow and say, hey, this is my address. Can you please send me the element minerals? I would love to try them. Let's see, any last questions? I have time for one more question. So if you want to drop it in the chat. Am I based in the US or Canada? I'm in the United States in California. So I can run labs like blood work and thyroid panels for anyone in the United States. GI maps, the digestive panels, I can run those pretty much all over the world, except for New York. That's the only exception for the GI map. New York does not allow that one, but everywhere else in the world. So Europe, I've worked with clients in Asia. Where else? Korea, the UK, but blood work, it has to be clients in the United States. Okie dokie. Well, it was such a pleasure to have all of you here this evening. I don't see any other questions, but if something comes up, you can email me your question as well. I dropped that in the chat box, Kristen@eatyourgreensout.com. You're very welcome. And yeah, I hope you learned something new this evening that will help you on your thyroid journey. And don't forget that $300 coupon code. You have 48 hours before it expires for Thyroid Wellness Formula course. So thank you so, so much. Enjoy your evening wherever you're at in the world. Enjoy your dinner, get some sleep, and I'll talk to you soon. Have a good night. Bye.